Good day, Maestros TV. This episode is inspired by Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek, written as a reflective and motivational long-form essay for general use by leaders at all levels of government, education, and public service. It is structured in a seamless, flowing voice suited for podcast narration and designed to run approximately 30 minutes when read aloud with proper pacing. Leadership is not about authority. It is not about position, rank, or the number of people who report to you. Leadership, at its core, is about responsibility. The responsibility to protect, to inspire, to empower, and to serve those you lead. In his book Leaders Eat Last, Simon Sinek offers us a profound reminder. The true measure of a leader is not how high they rise, but how well they serve others along the way. In many organizations, especially in public service, we see leadership through the lens of power and control. Who approves the budget? Who signs the papers? Who sits at the head of the table? But these are merely functions of the position. They say little about the quality of leadership. Real leadership, the kind that earns trust and leaves a legacy, does not rely on fear or control. It thrives on empathy, connection, and sacrifice. Leadership is not a license to do less. It is a responsibility to do more. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. The phrase "leaders eat last" comes from the traditions of the United States Marine Corps, where the most junior Marines are served their meals first, while the senior officers wait until the end. This isn't just a symbolic act, it's a lived value. It teaches those in command that their privilege is not to be served, but to serve. It's a daily reminder that leadership means putting the needs of your people before your own. When applied in the world of public service, whether in a school, a health center, a local government unit, or a national agency, it means our primary role as leaders is to ensure our people are safe, supported, and sustained. The true price of leadership is the willingness to place the needs of others above your own. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. And to do this, leaders must create a circle of safety, a space where people feel they belong, where they are not judged for making mistakes, where they are not punished for speaking the truth. In a toxic culture, people hide, blame, and pretend. In a culture shaped by trust, people collaborate, admit fault, and contribute with heart. When the people feel safe and protected by the leadership in the organization, the natural reaction is to trust and cooperate. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. Leadership, then, becomes a biological experience as much as an organizational one. Sinek explains how our bodies are wired with chemicals: dopamine for achievement, serotonin for pride, oxytocin for connection, and endorphins for endurance. Each time a leader thanks a staff member, appreciates a colleague, or takes time to listen, they activate these chemicals. And when a leader uses fear, criticism, or silence as control tools, the body responds with cortisol, the stress chemical. Trust is eroded, teams crumble. Our need to feel safe is ingrained in our biology. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. This is why the best leaders are not those who manage numbers. The best leaders manage emotions. They are aware that behind every deliverable is a human being, trying, hoping, carrying burdens we don't always see. Great leaders check on the person, not just the performance. The leaders of great organizations don't look to work smarter or more efficiently. They look to build stronger human bonds. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. In many public institutions, stress is seen as part of the job. But chronic stress isn't just dangerous, it's demoralizing. It causes good people to burn out and lose faith in the mission. Leadership that ignores this is not leadership, it is neglect. Leaders must go beyond metrics. They must lead with humanity. Stress and anxiety at work have less to do with the work we do and more to do with weak management and leadership. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. A culture of fear can never birth innovation. People cannot thrive when they are busy surviving. They cannot be creative when they are terrified of making a mistake. But when leaders create safety, people are free to dream, to speak up, to solve problems in new ways. Leadership is about taking responsibility for lives and not numbers. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. So, what happens when leaders put others first? Teams become loyal. People become courageous. They go the extra mile not because they have to, but because they want to. They believe in something bigger than themselves. They work not just for salary, but for service. When we feel safe among the people with whom we work, we naturally combine our talents and our strengths and work tirelessly to face the dangers outside and seize the opportunities. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. And this is how change happens, not by force, but by faith. Not through fear, but through shared purpose. The most powerful leaders are not the ones who shout the loudest. They are the ones who serve the deepest. They inspire not through command, but through compassion. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. Let us remember, our people do not remember every memo, every meeting, or every policy, but they will remember how we made them feel. Did we defend them? Did we listen to them? Did we let them know they mattered? Leadership is not a performance. It is a promise. A daily promise to do right by our people, to serve before we are served, to step back so others can step forward. Let us lead not with a hunger for position, but with a hunger for meaning. Let us be known not for our titles, but for our kindness. Let us measure success not by what we have, but by what we give. In the end, may we be the leaders who choose to eat last. Imagine a public servant working quietly in a rural barangay. She faces the challenges of poor connectivity, limited resources, and high expectations from the community. Now imagine she has a supervisor who checks in regularly, not just to demand reports, but to ask sincerely, "How are you doing? What support do you need?" That small act changes everything. That is leadership, not commanding, but connecting, not intimidating, but inspiring. Sinek introduces us to the concept of the circle of safety. In ancient tribes, the members would gather around a fire, protected from threats lurking in the darkness, wild animals, enemies, the unknown. The circle represented safety, belonging, and shared purpose. Today, our workplaces are modern-day tribes. The threats may be different: job insecurity, burnout, mistrust, bureaucratic pressure, but the need for a circle of safety remains. And it is the leader's responsibility to create and expand that circle. The strength of the culture and the ability to pull together in times of stress depends on the size of the circle of safety. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. When people feel they are inside that circle, they give their best. They speak openly. They admit mistakes. They collaborate. But when they feel they are outside of it, they shut down. They focus on self-preservation. The danger then does not come from outside, but from within. Rivalries, gossip, and passive resistance begin to grow. And all of that happens not because people are bad, but because they feel unprotected. When the circle of safety is strong and grounded in a clear set of human values and a noble cause, the people inside the organization will inevitably take care of each other. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. A true leader sees themselves not at the center of the circle, but on the edge, constantly working to expand that perimeter so more people feel secure. And it doesn't take sweeping reforms to do this. Sometimes it's just walking around the office, asking someone how they are, listening without rushing. It's in defending someone when it's easier to stay silent. It's in giving second chances. It is the leaders who decide whether the people will feel safe among each other or will fear each other. It is the leaders who decide whether trust and cooperation will thrive or disappear. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. And what kind of leaders expand the circle of safety? Those who place high value on people. Those who are generous with praise and gentle with correction. Leaders who believe that when people feel like they matter, they rise. They grow. They give. When they feel forgotten, they fade. The goal of every leader is to give their people the confidence to go out and achieve, while also giving them the security to feel safe when they fail. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. And failure, in this circle, is not fatal. It's formative. Because in a healthy culture, people don't fear failing. They fear being abandoned. A strong leader assures their people, "You can fall. I will be here." That kind of trust turns an organization into a community. It turns a job into a mission. Trust is not simply a matter of shared opinions. It is the hard work of living out shared values. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. It's tempting, especially in crisis, to prioritize performance over people. To think, if we just get the job done, everything else will follow. But history shows us that the most resilient organizations are the ones that protect their people first. Because when you protect your people, they will protect the mission. We must all be guardians of the circle of safety. Leadership is the responsibility to see those around us rise. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. A government agency that enforces policies but neglects its people will collapse under pressure. A health unit that cares for patients but ignores the well-being of its staff will see fatigue and failure. A school that demands excellence without empathy will burn out its teachers and its learners. The strength of any institution begins with the strength of its circle. The responsibility of leadership is not to come up with all the ideas, but to create an environment in which great ideas can happen. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. And that environment isn't measured by how quiet the office is or how complete the paperwork is. It's measured by how alive people feel, how willing they are to speak up, how free they are to care. In a healthy circle, people stop thinking, "What's in it for me?" and start asking, "How can I help?" The best organizations foster trust and cooperation because their leaders build a strong circle of safety, an environment in which people feel valued and cared for. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. When we as leaders step back and reflect, it's not enough to ask, "Are we getting results?" We must also ask, "Are we growing people? Are we protecting their dignity? Are we worth following?" Because leadership is not a badge we wear. It is a burden we carry for others. You can easily judge the character of a man by how he treats those who can do nothing for him. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. When people feel safe, they give their best. They are more creative, more collaborative, and more willing to take risks. But when they feel threatened, when they fear being shamed, punished, or dismissed, they retreat. They play small. They protect themselves instead of serving the mission. Leaders who prioritize safety build resilient teams. They empower people to take ownership, not out of fear, but out of pride. Sinek dives even deeper by explaining that leadership is not just an emotional or philosophical idea, it is also biological. The human body is wired with chemicals that drive behavior. For in particular shape our leadership experience: endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. Endorphins help us endure pain and stress. Dopamine motivates us to reach goals and get things done. These two chemicals are critical for productivity. They drive us forward, help us finish tasks, meet deadlines, and achieve success. But over-reliance on endorphins and dopamine can lead to burnout, obsession with results, and tunnel vision. That's where serotonin and oxytocin come in. These are the chemicals of connection. Serotonin is released when we feel pride, respect, and recognition, when our leaders thank us, when our contributions are acknowledged. Oxytocin is released through trust, love, and cooperation. When we feel a genuine bond with our team, when we help one another, when we share a laugh or a difficult moment, that's oxytocin at work. Great leaders know how to activate these social chemicals. They don't just reward results, they build relationships. There is also a fifth chemical worth noting: cortisol. This is the stress hormone, released when we feel unsafe or under constant pressure. In high cortisol environments, people become defensive, reactive, and withdrawn. Long-term exposure leads to anxiety, health problems, and disengagement. In workplaces dominated by fear, where people worry about being blamed, where feedback is used as punishment, and where leaders are absent, cortisol rules. It is the enemy of trust and well-being. Leaders who care about their people do everything they can to reduce unnecessary stress. They promote clarity, fairness, and compassion. So what does this look like in practice? It starts with presence. A leader who visits not just the high-performing offices, but the ones that are struggling. A leader who listens without interrupting, who offers guidance without ego, who understands that the smallest act of kindness can change the course of someone's day or career. It also looks like protection, standing up for your team when criticism comes, shielding them from political pressure, taking responsibility when things go wrong, and giving credit when things go right. Leadership is absorbing the heat so your people can shine. It's saying, "I've got you," even when no one else does. Leadership also means creating a culture of recognition. People don't need elaborate ceremonies or big rewards. They need to be seen. They need to hear, "You matter. What you did today made a difference." Recognition feeds serotonin. It strengthens morale. It builds loyalty. And it costs nothing. Real leadership is also found in how we handle conflict. Do we respond with blame or with curiosity? Do we shut people down or open them up? Leaders who lean into discomfort, who ask the hard questions, who remain calm when tensions rise. These are the ones who build real, lasting trust. They create cultures where feedback is not feared, but welcomed, where mistakes are not punished, but learned from. Perhaps the greatest test of leadership is sacrifice. Are we willing to give up comfort for the sake of others? Are we willing to delay gratification so our teams can thrive? Leadership requires giving time, attention, and energy, often when we have little left to give. But the return is immeasurable. It's the trust of your people. It's the impact you leave behind. It's the quiet pride of knowing you helped others grow. Sinek reminds us that leaders are not responsible for the job. They're responsible for the people who do the job. That shift in perspective changes everything. You don't manage reports. You mentor people. You don't direct outcomes. You develop others. And when you do that well, the outcomes follow. In public service, this kind of leadership is rare, but urgently needed. We live in a time of rapid change, deep uncertainty, and rising cynicism. People are tired. Institutions are strained. And yet, there is still hope. Hope in the quiet, persistent work of leaders who choose compassion over control, humility over pride, and presence over position. Your title may open doors, but it is your humanity that builds bridges. Your decisions shape policies, but your character shapes lives. And long after you leave your post, what people will remember most is how you made them feel. Did they feel heard, valued, protected? Did they feel inspired to serve because of your example? Leadership is not a performance. It's a practice. Every conversation is a chance to lead. Every crisis is an invitation to grow. Every decision is a reflection of what you value most. And every day, you choose. Will you eat first? Or will you make sure your people are fed before you are? Leaders eat last, not because they are less important, but because they understand what matters most. People. They understand that leadership is not about climbing ladders. It's about lifting others. It's not about being in front. It's about being behind your people, pushing them forward, catching them when they fall, and cheering them when they succeed. This is the kind of leadership that transforms agencies, that restores dignity to public service, that rebuilds broken trust and renews the soul of organizations. It's not always visible. It's not always praised, but it is always felt. So to every leader listening today, whether you're managing a team of 5 or overseeing a region of thousands, remember this: your leadership matters. Your choices ripple out farther than you can see. Your words, your presence, your protection, they change lives. Lead with courage. Serve with humility. Build circles of safety wherever you go. And when the time comes, don't rush to the front of the line. Be the one who stays behind, who checks on everyone else first, who eats last, because that is what real leaders do.